Hey guys, what's up, and welcome to the 2-Bit Gaming Podcast with myself and Jay Buston.
Hello.
Jay, it's been a long weekend for me. I don't know about you.
Kind of busy, packed full of things. Had some family in town.
I say that on a lighter sense. I'm being more joking than I am like serious. But we a couple, I can't remember the days now, but it feels like a weekend or two ago we recorded a lot of behind the scenes footage for the album project I'm working on. For anyone that hasn't already heard about this, and I'm the one that gets to edit all of this. So we're not even done recording yet as far as all the video stuff. And we're probably about 3/4 of the way through, if not more. And it's already so many freaking files to go through. It's painful. Like the most tedious and annoying part of it thus far is just getting all the video and audio files synced up, because you're not using the audio from the video camera. You have an actual mic that's hanging over, kind of like a boom mic would.
Right.
And they're two different files, so you have to tell the system, hey, sync these two things together. And Adobe Premiere is really nice and easy about that. I don't have to manually do each one, but I do have to comb through hundreds of files and at least find the two that match together and then tell those two to sync. So I don't have to necessarily dig for hours at a time trying to line one up with each other. Like the program will do that for me, but I do have to at least find the files that match each other.
Welcome to the wonderful world of video production. There's a reason why I stopped.
Yeah. It would be lovely to have somebody do that for me, but here we are.
I used to do freelance video editing, and I took one gig, and I said, I do not want to do this for the rest of my life, and I quit.
You want to get back into that industry?
I charged a lot, so
I would not doubt it, given just the small amount I've had to do. It's like, man, this would be expensive if I was doing this and charging someone to do this.
Oh yeah,
I'd be charging a lot, because just the time it takes, and not to mention I still have to finish the music side of it too. So there's a lot of stuff to be done on that project side of things. But that's been my weekend. But something else pretty cool happened over the weekend. Jay, you wanna slide that info in on the podcast today?
I don't know what you're referring to. The Boston Uprising played a match on Sunday. They beat the Houston Outlaws in overtime, so that was kind of fun.
I say the weekend. It happened last week, but
the Nintendo Direct.
We there you go. We had time to kind of dig into it over the weekend.
Yeah, when the Nintendo Direct actually went live the same day that our podcast usually goes live on, so we didn't get to react to it in a super timely manner. It's now a week old, but a lot of cool, interesting things were brought out to light as a result of this Direct. Nintendo kind of hit or miss with their Directs a lot, but this one was mostly a hit.
Right. I didn't get to watch it live. I was actually super busy that day, and then I ended up going out of town on the weekend, so I ended up watching it rather late as opposed to the day that it came out. But
you mean like
I can
7
pretty
minutes
much
ago?
Right. For anybody who hasn't seen it yet, two things. One, I'll put a link into the description of our YouTube release of the podcast, so if you're watching this there, you can just go into the description and you can pause the podcast, go watch that real quick, so you'll know what we're talking about.
Just head on over to Nintendo's official YouTube page, and they'll hook you up.
Or that's the one I was going to link to anyways.
Right.
But or two, I can literally sum up the entire thing in 5 seconds. You ready?
Hang on, let me get my stopwatch out.
Okay, just let me know when you're ready.
All right, I'm ready. On my mark, are you ready?
Yep.
On go. Ready, set, go.
I don't know if the mic went through on Discord or not, but I was done.
Whole lot of nothing for you, huh?
Well, no, like, you must not have heard it. It's literally...
Oh, just a snap?
Yep.
I got you.
Every other 2 minutes. Yeah, you have a guy... His transition to everything, one, he doesn't speak English. So you have a translator going over it. And then when he stops and the video is about to happen, snap with 10 pounds of reverb and a delay on it.
Have you
every
not
time.
seen a Nintendo Direct since the Switch came out? Because that's kind of their thing.
I have not.
Okay, well that's
You know this.
that's-
I'm not a Nintendo guy.
I know, but like you're a gamer guy, so I figured maybe you were keeping up on the news. But like, no, that's their thing is they snap every time because the whole thing with the Switch is it's switching over to the next thing and happens happens in a snap. So
I get it. I was making a joke for the people who haven't watched it. And
I understand.
You can just.
I
That's
was
all that
trying to
happens. Nothing but
educate you.
just nothing but snaps.
You ignorant fool.
Anyway, there was a decent amount of info that was kind of talked about, and then there was also a decent amount of info that was not talked about at all.
Yeah, their directs tend to be like they'll really highlight a game or three, and then just kind of be like, "This is also something that's coming soon." Next is like, but they came out swinging on this one. They kind of announced their most anticipated game, or one of them anyway, right out the get go.
Mm-hmm. Literally the first one that they hit, at least on the video that I watched, was Super Mario Maker 2. Right out the gate, which it was hard to tell from the video that they showed specifically because they didn't do a whole lot of talking over it. It was more of just
a showcase.
You're just sitting back and kind of watching as some demo footage happens. And of course, more or less, it looks like the same thing as the original Mario Maker was, but with slight increase in graphic. It did look like there's going to be some prefab foundations of maybe Super Mario World and possibly some other things. I don't. They could have just been doing that just to showcase what you can do because
I think that's literally what it was.
They literally had an exact world from Super Mario World constructed, and when the video started, and I was thinking, okay, are we giving like a foundational choice, and then you can make edits to it, or what are we trying to say here exactly? And it did seem like tool-wise that there are some more options than there were previously.
There's a lot more options, including one of the most asked for things, which is slopes. A lot of people who were really into the first game, be it either level creators or level players, were really disappointed that there weren't any slopes. Because those have been in every Mario game except for the first one. Well, out of the 4 styles you can play as in Mario Maker, it was in all of them except the first one. You can do it in 3, World, and Wii U. And now you can do it in this game. And so that's really tight. I love that. That's like what they kind of let out with was like, hey, you asked for it, here it is. And, I like that they listen to their fans on that one.
Right, which is humorous hearing that because that's literally pretty much the first thing they showcased was, hey, we have slopes now.
Yeah, which like the second you saw Mario Maker, you were like, all right, they have slopes now too. Like you just knew.
Right. The one thing I am curious about this one, just looking back on the first one and the enjoyment of it, but also what happened with it, that it was great and it was fun, and me and Jay and kind of our friend group of gamers that we associate with had a good time interacting with that and playing each other's levels and stuff. And did it really even last a month?
Oh yeah.
Before I can't remember now. It's been too long. I'm trying to remember how long it lasted before we kind of slowly started losing interest because there was only so many things to do before. Like, okay, well, now what?
We got bored of it, but it's actually still a very active competitive game.
Oh no, I'm not talking about for the public. I mean, I meant for us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not massive into platformers anyway, so like this game was not really made for me. Nor am I that type of creative person that I could make a good level. And again, we talked about this on season 1 of the podcast when Mario Maker 1 was coming out. And I talked about this game and how skeptic I was about it and skeptical rather. And not really on board with the game as a whole, nor do I think the second one is really my cup of tea, but I'm still excited to see it.
Right.
I just stopped playing it because I got bored of it.
Which mean, and I like this kind of stuff, but I eventually got bored with it because it's hard to explain because in one sense, this is one of those things that a creative type of person kind of dreams about, which is being able to create a game, especially one that you already like as far as the prefab options of a specific style like Mario, and you're not having to do actual coding design or anything. You're doing a very user friendly. Here's the stuff. Feel free to design your own level.
Super user friendly.
Right. It sounds really neat, and you're like, oh man, that would be awesome. And you do it, but even with as many things and as completely different levels that you can make with the different styles and the different actual Mario game styles that they have in there, it doesn't feel as diverse as it sounds as far as the building process and then being done, and then what do you do when it's done? Because like about the only really fun interactive part of it is getting other people involved. Like when we would go on, like when you would stream and we would throw our levels out there and you would play those on stream or something like that. That's when it was fun, because then you have someone else experience your level as opposed to yourself.
Yeah, and you're not wrong. And there's tons of communities out there that still do that to this day, quite frankly. But that's I definitely see that if you're not involved in one of those communities or anything like that, you make a level and you put it out on the internet and you're like, all right, cool. And then you check back in a day and you can see how many people played it, and you can see like where people are dying and stuff like that. But you're not really having any interaction with these people.
Right.
So,
you're not actually seeing it. That would be a cool element to add. If
that would take a lot of server space.
It would. Well, yeah. I was trying to think of a way to integrate to where like maybe only one or so, like, or if they had it on a temporary, so like you can view their progress in the first day of them playing it, and then it's gone, or something like that. Towards a recycling thing as opposed to just always there. But even then, as more of a thought process kind of thing. But it would be
like in an ideal world, that would be great. But
right, because that would help eliminate that problem. But anyway, that game kind of speaks for itself. There's not a whole lot more to be said from it other than things being added to it. Unless you were gonna
comes out June of this year. So
right,
I'm probably gonna pick
it up.
No
pushbacks.
I'm probably gonna pick it up, honestly.
On launch or just sometime when it comes out?
I don't know. Probably on launch, because I'm looking at it from like a streamer point of view. That's when it's gonna be like, that's when I'm gonna get the most value out of it.
True, and you have a bunch of people sending you levels, I'm sure.
Yeah, I can make a Discord channel about it and all this other stuff, and I can get what's called streamer value out of it. And then when it's run its course and I've gotten frustrated at platformers like I always do, I'll throw it up on the shelf with Mario Maker 1, never to be touched again. But that's me. This game is not a bad game. Obviously, it's a huge one. This game has been asked for like crazy. It's just, once again, not really for me. But
which is fair. I respect that. And maybe by then, I may have a Nintendo Switch can actually play with you. Who knows? We'll see.
I'm still shocked you don't have one, man.
Are you really, though?
I mean, you can take Dark Souls on the go. It just really seems like your console. I know we've talked about like you have your own little setup with your own little thing, but like this is so smaller. It's so smaller.
One game does not entice me to buy a $300 console.
There's Smash Bros. There's Mario Kart. There's Mario Maker 2. There's all these other games that were just announced. Like, for example, Yoshi's Crafted World.
Right. Which I get, but what you would have to understand is the only friends I would have to play with is one friend here, and then you.
Oh,
and then I guess
much more
John and Fraser, and maybe does RDS have one?
RDS has one. Riku's got like the whole crew's got one. Like, you're the only person I know who doesn't have one.
That's like I said. Maybe I'll look into it this summer. Perhaps we'll talk about that more.
Yeah.
Off the podcast. Anyways, moving on to some of the other stuff they talked about. The next 4 or so were more of small mentions before they got to the next meat and potatoes thing that they give a little more details on.
Just little indie titles or like things that they don't have a ton of information on now.
Right. The immediate next one was one called Box Boy, which I don't know about you, but I've never heard of it. They said
I heard of the first one.
Right.
This is a sequel. This is Box Boy 2.
Right. My biggest weakness as far as knowledge on a gaming sense is the Nintendo side of things. That's not and I can't even really explain to you why, because it's not from a general dislike of Nintendo, because I love Nintendo. Like I have no bitterness to them, but ultimately I just don't end up playing a lot of their stuff and don't end up doing a lot of research on it. So that's where my knowledge falls the shortest. That's usually when Jay has to pick up a lot of slack. So this should be a fun episode for me to just make an idiot of myself. uh, so that one got announced, which just, from a literal no knowledge perspective that I had of it, it just looked like a side scroller puzzle game.
Yeah, it's a puzzle platformer.
That they now on this one, at least from what I heard in the video, have increased it to 2-player option, so that now you can do puzzles together.
Yeah, I think it's really cool.
It looked really neat. If you've never heard of it, looked up. It does look like a fun. And they said they had like 270 something levels,
something like that. It's a massive game.
Ridiculous.
It's developed by HAL, which are like the Kirby people. So it's going to be cute.
And then after that one, they gave an incredibly ominous, really no details. Hey, here's a bunch of updates that are happening in the spring, but we're not going to tell you what any of the updates are, other than what games they're happening on, such as Smash Brothers, which I would have to imagine, especially if you're for someone like you that would be more on. I don't want to use the term likely. You can agree or disagree with it. More of a hardcore Nintendo person than I would be. That'd probably a little annoying to be teased like that and then not get anything. Really.
I wasn't annoyed. I was just kind of like, well, why'd they bother? Like, right. To what point and purpose? Like, the one new bit of information we got out of that is that the next DLC character for Smash Bros, Joker from the Persona series, is coming out in April. Like, we already knew who he was. We already knew he was coming. We just didn't know when, and now we know it's sometime in April. To which I'm just like, cool, I don't care. Like, like having a vague date doesn't really make me any more or less excited about it. I don't know. But that's maybe also because I don't really care about Joker as a character. I don't know.
Shots fired.
Well, I've never played a Persona game, so I don't know anything about him. I'm not really excited about it. If it was Banjo from Banjo-Kazooie, then maybe I'd have a little more hype for it. I don't know, but as it is right now, I don't think I care.
Fair.
Which is me. That's just me. But
and then after the onslaught of non-informative updates that are coming out, they moved on to a game called Bloodstained, which I have also never heard of. I don't know if you're any different on that one, but
yeah, that's gosh, Matt, you got to freaking keep up on this stuff.
I have already given the disclosure, so I accept the inevitability that a lot of this stuff is going to be new to me.
Yeah, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night.
It's like a side scroller, like just a typical.
Yeah, it's a Castlevania series made by the guy who. So the guy who made Castlevania, Koji Igarashi, he is not making Castlevania games anymore because like Nintendo owns Castlevania, like whoever owns the actual like rights to Castlevania, whatever, he's not working for them anymore. Just moved on in his career or whatever. But he wants to make games again, and so makes sense. He's now the leader of this new game, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, and it's coming out not just for Switch, but also for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, maybe PC, shrug, I don't know. It hasn't quite been made clear. So for the people that love the Castlevania series, this game is massive. It's everything they've ever wanted, because we haven't gotten like a real good Castlevania game in a long time since like the original DS era. So you're looking...
Is this just is this a platform switch or a new game for the Switch?
It's a new game. The game's not out yet. There's a demo out there somewhere, but
gotcha.
Yep.
Have they made anything previous to this one? Like, is this a sequel?
No, this is his first time since making Castlevania games that he's making this type of thing.
I feel a little better about not knowing about. Yeah, I thought you were just like, oh man, this game's like the 5th one in the series. No, what the heck's wrong with you?
When Iga, Mr. Igarashi, everyone just calls him Iga for short. When he announced this, it was massive gaming news. Like YouTubers were in on it, Twitch streamers were in on it. it was a big deal. I'm honestly surprised you haven't heard anything about it, but
I'm gonna have a Discord call or phone call with you sometime around the next NAMM show, and then just talk to you about all the recording technology that comes out, so I feel better about myself.
I'm not on a recording show podcast. This is a gaming podcast, Matt.
You're recording with a microphone right now. It technically applies over.
But we're not talking about it.
I said just to feel better about myself. Dang it!
You're embarrassing the crap out of yourself right now, you darn fool. We're gonna get mean comments again.
It's self-inflicted. I'm okay with it. That's how,
what's next on the list, Matt? Let's further embarrass you. Go ahead.
You just have to dig your own hole. Dragon Quest Builders 2.
Yeah, I don't care. It's Minecraft. Keep going.
The next one. I was just going to say, like, if you've never heard of it, it's literally the Dragon Quest visual characters, but in an 8-bit-esque Minecraft kind of fashion.
Yeah.
Which is basically what that is.
If you want to play that, play Minecraft instead.
Yeah, I don't really know enough about to say what the differences between Minecraft and this would be, but it basically just seems like if you want all the Dragon Quest skins without having to download the mods, then just play this instead. I guess. I don't know.
Yes.
And then immediately after that, though, they did announce Dragon Quest 11, which this one I do know about, which I know that this will be a big deal for a lot of people. And this one actually announced some cool things that I wish more games would do, especially in the sense of if it's a remake or if it's several of the options that they have are really neat, such as the fact like you can play it in the high def version that it is, or you have the option to return to the 8-bit classic way of seeing the game. Like they give you that option.
Yeah.
Which is really neat. And then on top of that, you can listen to it in English or Japanese dialogue.
That's also really cool. I love that they did that.
Right. You can pick either or, which both of them need. Which, by the way, if you've never looked at a Dragon Quest, it looks like Dragon Ball Z artwork because it's similar production companies that use it. So the art style is very similar, especially the hair is noted, but nothing like Dragon Ball Z, even though it has the word dragon in it and the artwork is similar. Don't get them confused. They could not be further apart from each other. But that was a pretty big one that they talked about for a good while. Have you ever played any of the Dragon Quest games?
I've not. To me, it's just JRPG. Gonna take a long time. Don't have time for it.
Right. Now, I've played them. I could never really get into them enough to like play the full extent of an entire game.
I mean, they look cool. I think it's a cool looking game. If I ever had infinite time, I'd probably try it. Right.
But the biggest thing that I thought was just neat about it was the things I already said, which is the options that they give you as the player to, in a way, drastically control how you're going to play this game, both visually and audibly, how you hear the dialogue.
Right.
Which was neat. I wish more games would actually do that.
That was something that people were disappointed at with Breath of the Wild, was the American voice acting in Breath of the Wild, and I don't mean any disrespect to the voice actors, it was kind of bland. And a lot of people wanted to play it listening in Japanese with American English subtitles. And you couldn't do that at launch. And then Nintendo heard the pleas of the world and fixed that. And so I think that's something that we're going to see a lot more of in some of these Japanese games is Japanese voice acting with English text if you want it.
Which I think would be a smart idea.
Yeah.
And then after that game...
Hang on, can I interrupt for just a second?
Go for it.
I need to go back to Bloodstained for a moment.
Oh, gosh.
Because I was wrong, and I want to admit that and correct myself. This is not
alone today.
This is not the first Bloodstained game. There was one that came out last year, Bloodstained Curse of the Moon.
There you go.
So that came out May 24th of 2018. So that's my bad. Again, I'm not a huge Castlevania fan, so this game slipped under my radar apparently. So I apologize, Matt, for making you sound stupid when I myself was incorrect.
We're in this together, man. We've said multiple times we're both idiots with microphones that are just trying to find our way through this madness.
But I just figured I'd correct myself. And also, that also puts a little bit more on your shoulder because it's not the first game that's come out from this series. We both missed it.
Yeah.
So, all right, back on track.
Right after Dragon Quest XI, they kind of gave another vague announcement of a game called Oninaki. I'm not sure if that's the right way to pronounce it or not, so I
More
apologize.
anime.
Right. In hardcore anime without a release date. We just know it's coming in the summer.
Yep.
But again, on games like that, I would just say go ahead and watch the direct to get a little more info on it. But it was just worth at least mentioning some of these titles.
Yep.
But they didn't give a whole lot of details on it, so your best thing that you could really do is just go watch what they showed.
There's a lot of anime titles at this direct, and I as someone who's one, not into anime, and two, not into anime, I rolled my eyes hard at a lot of these things coming out. I was like, I just don't care. But that's me.
Most of them I did. There is one exception to that, but it's toward the end of the list, so we'll get there eventually. And then right after that game, they talked about one that I am looking forward to, as far as at least seeing bare minimum if I don't have a Switch by this point, which would be Yoshi's Crafted World, which is really awesome to me because Yoshi's Island was by and large one of my favorite Nintendo games earlier on. I know that's not what this is, but just talking about the Yoshi world side of things, and basically to me, and you can correct me if you think this is wrong, Jay, but to me this looks like the Super Mario U Brothers or whatever similar game you want to compare it to in that vein, but with Yoshi and its design and the way that it's going to work. So it's not necessarily a Yoshi's Island, but it's pretty much kind of the way the Mario Brothers U worked.
Yeah, it's a platformer, but kind of collectathon as well. Like at the end, like you gotta, it works similar to Yoshi's Island in that way, where like your ultimate goal, just like in Mario, is to get to the end of the level. But along the way, you can find, in Yoshi's Island, it was red coins and flower points or whatever the frick they were.
Right.
And in this one, you need to find like Poochies or whatever. I don't know what they are.
The only reason I compare it to Mario Brothers U instead of Yoshi's Island, because there was footage where you're no longer side-scrolling. There's several where they're exploring different dimensions of things, like doing some sort of race thing where you're actually going forward, like if like you are facing the back of his head and he is going into the screen, right?
Yeah.
Which is giving more dimensionality to a side-scrolling kind of thing.
Yeah, they really played with the craft aesthetic of
Oh yes, the graphics are very neat,
very creative.
Mm-hmm. I would not be surprised. Again, we've said this multiple times early on. It's way too early to really pinpoint anything, but I would not be surprised if this one is in the running for the artwork or whatever specific thing is called. Best art direction for Game of the Year.
Yeah.
Definitely at least nominated, I would think. Now, granted, we have to see what games come out the entire year before we
As
really
it stands
know
right
that.
now, though, I'd probably agree.
Right. As it stands right now, it seems worthy to be in that category for sure. And then after that one, they did another big one, which is another one I actually know, which is Fire Emblem 3 Houses. Now, on a previous podcast, I couldn't tell you what season it is now, we actually did a challenge to each other where we downloaded specific mobile games, and Fire Emblem was one of them. I know that's not necessarily the place to play that per se, but that is another place that I have played that game, and I couldn't really get into the mobile side of it. I did for like a week, and then I was like, yeah, I'm kind of done with this. It just wasn't really my thing specifically, but definitely can see the appeal to it.
Right.
And not opposed to it in any sense. It just wasn't for me, at least on the mobile side. I know the game is completely different, but even the actual game, I've never really gotten into myself a whole lot. But they're fun to watch. Like, I don't mind watching games like this on YouTube or having in the background while I'm working or something like that.
Yeah, they're very strategic.
Yes, very much so. Have you played any of them fully?
No, I've actually never. So, like you, the only one I've ever played. Well, I don't know if you've played the other ones, but I've only played the mobile one.
I've played some of them here and there.
I've seen gameplay of some of the Game Boy Advanced ones when they first came to America. But this one looks a little different. And I'm actually vaguely interested in this one. This one I'm going to keep on my radar. Like Yoshi's Crafted World, I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to play that game. It's not for me. But I've just never really been a huge Yoshi fan, if I can be honest with you. I think he's cute as heck, but I just don't like the way his games work. But
Okay.
Fire Emblem, again, I've never really played it. I never really saw a mass appeal to it, but this one looks very interesting. And I'm gonna see how it fleshes out and see if I want to pick it up in July when it comes out, July 26th of this year.
I could agree with that. And then after Fire Emblem, they completely switched gears, like hard left turn, and went to a game called Dead by Daylight.
Yep.
Which, man, talk about just changing the entire way the direct had been up until that point. You're like, you've done these games, and now somewhere way over here.
Yeah, well, Fire Emblem Three Houses was officially the highlight of the stream. It was when they were announcing it, they were like, we're going to be talking about Switch games, taking a special look at Fire Emblem Three Houses. So they kind of like, if you go back and watch it, they like break from what they were doing, talk about Fire Emblem, break from Fire Emblem, and kind of launched a new segment, which kicked off with Dead by Daylight, which is a game that's already out. This is not a new game exclusive to the Switch.
Right, but how would you describe this game?
A horror movie.
Well, sort of. Nothing about the gameplay of this made me scared in any sense of the word.
No.
Just because of the style. It doesn't seem like the type of game that is gonna. It's more of a. If it's gonna be suspense, it's more of in just trying not to die.
Yeah, but like, I don't think the trailer did the game justice, because when you load into the game, it's silent. You know, there's no music playing in the background or whatever, and so you need to survive till daylight. Or you're dead by daylight. That's the whole premise of the game. There's a killer, and you and like 3 other people need to survive the killer.
Right.
Using, the environment and traps you can set or whatever, but you also have to like use your ears, and you hear footsteps, and you're like, do I hide? Do I run? Do I see if this is a person I can trust and we can work together? So I can understand the suspense and the horror element in it. Is it the scariest game I've ever seen or played? No, probably not, but I can definitely see where it would be like fun and thrilling at the same time.
Right. To me, it seems like that fun type of suspense, like when you're playing with your 3 friends, you're kind of laughing while having that screaming, giggling, stress voice. Oh no, don't
do it.
One's laughing because he's blocking the exit, and you're just calling him a turd, hoping that we don't all die. Stuff like that.
Yeah,
it seems like this would be that type of game for sure. And then it was kind of weird because they're like, hey, you could also play as the killer if you want to do that.
Well, that's the whole thing. Is like you play with three other friends, and there's 4 of you or whatever, and one of you is randomly the killer. So
right. Which would actually be interesting to play with our group. That may be a
I think we would actually have some fun with this game, honestly.
You might need to look into seeing if you can stream that one later. That may be a thing to look into.
It would be an interesting stream game because, if I'm a survivor, the killer could watch my stream to find out where I am, stream sniping and all that. But I think that our group of friends is a little...
you should be going the extra mile for that, and none of us would do that. Though.
No.
I mean, gotta bring it up, man. You ghosting, bro. Why you ghosting?
No ghosting, bro. That's an oldie.
That's an old reference for another time. And then after that game, they went on to one called Deltarune, which is another one I couldn't really tell you a whole lot.
So Toby Fox is a dude who made this game you may have heard of called Undertale.
Yeah, I was gonna say I knew it was from the creator of Undertale.
Yeah, and so
that's about all I knew.
Yeah, one day a couple of months ago, late 2018, he just put on Twitter. He was like, "Hey, new game's out now. It's called Deltarune. It's a prequel to Undertale. Have fun." And so now it's coming to the Switch.
It looked ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I mean, as someone who's played some of Undertale, it's pretty much on par.
Oh yeah, like I figured the humor was going to be similar, and they didn't disappoint on that that level.
Yeah.
Just with, hey, here's a non-spoiler trailer, and then it's just
dogs.
insanity of 8-bit dogs.
Yeah.
It's like watching a YouTube cat video, but with 8-bit dogs. Is what I felt like was happening.
Pretty much, yeah. And then he disclaims at the end there's actually not that many dogs in this game.
Right. There's not actually many dogs in the actual gameplay. But that's really all that game did. You didn't really know anything about it other than who the maker is and that it's going to be humorous.
Yeah, I mean, well, the game's already out, so like most people have already played it at this point, but a lot of people will buy it again on the Switch. Either one is an excuse to play it again, or two, to have it on the Switch, a portable console. So,
and then after that one, they switched kind of back to the anime type of thing again, and went to Daemon X Machina.
Yep.
Which was very interesting visually because it was like a weird mesh of Gundam and Zoids.
Yeah, that's a pretty accurate description.
Which are two different mech shows that, obviously mech kind of all has a similar nature to it, but the designs were very different, and this is kind of a weird meet in the middle of those two. You're playing as more stuff on the Gundam side, but the things you seem to be attacking looked a lot more on the Zoid side, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Which I know Jay does not anime, so I don't know how much he knows about that comparison, but
I mean, like visuals come to my head of both of those shows just because of their cultural impact,
And it looked actually interesting. Like my first instinct a lot of times when I see the typical hardcore anime trope thing of just complete over the top stuff, I just go like, another one of these. But the more I played, it did seem interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that I would buy it or play it or anything like that, but of the anime ones, aside from the last one we'll talk about, this one didn't seem like I would just want to ignore it. Like I may, at bare least, may actually go watch someone play through this.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're on that level.
I didn't do the homework on this game, unfortunately. I believe this game's already out, and they're just talking about like an expansion to it. What's the name of the game? Let me just pull that up real quick.
Daemon X Machina.
Oh, how the hell do you spell that?
Daemon.
Okay, here it is right there. Okay, so no, it's not out yet. It's coming out sometime in 2019. That's all we have.
Yeah, I think they said it was coming out in the summer.
Sounds about right.
So it's not out yet, but it looks like something that might be interesting.
Oh, it was first announced at E3 this past year. That's why I've heard of it before.
There you go. And after this game, they went into a series of 4 or 5 different games that are all repositioning a platform. So like they're games that already exist and or are coming out, but are just now going to be available on the Switch. First of which being Hellblade, which
we already talked about that a couple weeks ago.
Multiple times before, and it's kind of giving you more of a reason to play the game, because now one of the reasons you said you didn't want to play it is now going away.
I mean, I don't think I ever said I didn't want to play this, but
you just use it as an excuse more than anything.
Yeah, probably. No, but this is a game that I fully intend on playing someday, and I'll probably play it on the Switch, just because if I buy games these days, there's a Switch version, 9 out of 10 times I'm going to buy it on the Switch.
And it's going to make it a lot easier especially how short the game is, because it's only a 6 to 8 hour game.
Right.
So with you being able to play it on the go, it'll be pretty quick. The only thing that you just need to make sure of, which I said in the Hellblade episode that we talked about, but it is very important to play that game with headphones. It would change the entire way the game functions if you didn't do that.
I actually just got a brand new pair of Bluetooth noise canceling headphones. I used them today for the first time.
I say that to say, sometimes where you might play a Switch, you might be playing it, but you're also interacting with other people. And,
right.
You don't want to disassociate yourself from conversation per se, but you are playing a game.
That's fair.
That wouldn't be the time you'd want to play this. You'd want to play this whenever that is the only thing you have to focus on, and you have the headset, the noise canceling, you're immersed, and go from there.
Cool.
So if you ever do get it, just keep that in mind for yourself, because that you'll know as soon as you start it, and you not even 10 minutes into it, you're like, okay, I kind of need to be not doing anything else while this game's happening. Otherwise, my brain's going to explode.
Sounds good. What's next?
After that, Mortal Kombat, of all things, Mortal Kombat 11.
A little disappointed you didn't scream it.
Mortal Kombat!
There it is.
Or some synthesizers when you need them.
Yeah, one of the most iconic theme songs of any fighter game, probably the most, if I had to guess.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually really fun. I have a story about that.
That would be a good one for the Switch as a whole.
Yeah.
Because thinking of it right now, I'm trying to think of all the side-scrolling fight games that they have. I feel like this would by far probably be the most popular that I can think of.
Yeah, I mean, they've got Pokken on the Switch, which, you know, again, was kind of a Wii U game, so it kind of saw like a
right, but there's very few of these type of games that are on the Mortal Kombat level.
Yeah, no, I mean, Mortal Kombat's Mortal Kombat. There's a reason there's 11 of them, you know. They're good games.
Oh, yeah. There's a reason to keep that, and people just crave violence, apparently. Because it's like every year is how much more ridiculous can we get? And they just find a way to do it every single year.
Yep. All right, so what's
you know exactly what you're getting into with that one. There's no need to dwell on that one any further.
Yeah, we don't need to break into it. It's Mortal Kombat.
Right. The next one was a little odd just in the choice of which one they chose to me, but that's neither here nor there. Assassin's Creed 3.
Yeah.
Of all, because this is the first time an Assassin's Creed's been on Nintendo, specifically the Switch.
No. Well, the Switch, yes.
Yeah, specifically the Switch. And of all the ones to pick, 3 I don't think would have been my first choice.
The only logic behind it that I see is that 3 was also the only Assassin's Creed game on the Wii U. So they probably already had like Nintendo-friendly files for this game.
Very possible. I know, at least in the direct footage, they kept talking about the actual timeline of it being popular. So I don't know if because of it being an actual point in history that you would actually cover in school a lot more than the other ones, that maybe that kind of led to the choice. I'm not sure.
I mean, I love the American Revolution era, but that's because I live in the American Revolution like frontier.
Right.
So.
Right. Which, I mean, most people do history-wise. I mean, it's a very interesting type of history to look into. But it's not that I don't like Assassin's Creed 3, because I still view it as one of the last good ones before the series really took a tank.
Blackest Flag.
The only redeeming thing of Black Flag to me is the ship stuff, but even that got old.
Right.
So yeah, to me it would have been much better to do like they did with the Dark Souls route and just do the first one or the second one, which to me
I would have liked to see the Ezio trilogy, 2 Brotherhood and Revelation.
That one too. To me, Assassin's Creed 2, I'll actually put a stamp on it and say, to me, Assassin's Creed 2 is actually my favorite.
I'd probably of the ones I've seen or played, I might agree with that. I haven't played any of the newer ones. Syndicate looked fun, but I never played it.
Right, and other one were fun in spurts, but my favorite as a whole was Assassin's Creed 2. So to me, I would have liked to see the first one or the second one, but you know, at least you're getting one of them. You know, you can now play Assassin's Creed on the Switch.
Yeah.
Who cares if it's 3? Just enjoy it and be happy with it. After that, they went on another spectrum of games pulling over and went through 2 Final Fantasy games, both Final Fantasy 7 and 9.
Oh, so glad we finally got a release date for 7. Final Fantasy 7 is one of my favorite games of all time, so I'm pumped to see this.
Correct me if I'm wrong. 9 should be out now, right?
9 came out the day of the Direct, yeah.
Right. That's what I thought they said. So you can already get 9 now. 7, I don't remember what date they said.
March 25th, I believe it is. It's the day I leave for a weekend away, so I won't get to play it, but
or will you?
Well, I'm not bringing my Switch with me. I'm attending friggin' whatever, religious retreat, and the whole kind of point is to kind of get away from stuff. So
that makes sense.
Yeah. So I'm leaving my Switch behind. I'll have my phone with me, but I'm leaving my Switch behind. So I'll be playing it when I get back from that. But
Right, and that's another one of those that doesn't really need any elaboration. It's the classic Final Fantasy games coming over to the Switch. So
I'm just glad I can play it on the go.
right, any fans of the fantasy series are going to be super pumped about that. And
Yeah, you already know what these games are. You're already excited for them, or you don't care. Like that's
Right.
it's the same thing with Mortal Kombat. It's like no explanation needed. Let's move on.
Now, this one wasn't necessarily in this order. I don't really remember when they announced it, but Jay said he wanted to talk about this one, and I didn't have it in my notes, so I just wrote it down here. So I don't know which one this was in order, but Tetris 99 was an announcement this go around, which is so I can't say the word Tetris without humming the song immediately.
Right? It's super
just
iconic.
happens. Oh, I mean, you could probably pick 100 random people at whatever point, whatever country, whatever age you want to, and at least 80 to 90 of them would probably be able to hum the song.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't the song like an old Russian bar song?
I don't know.
There's some interesting history behind that song, and it's a fantastic rendition of it in Tetris 99. It's super catchy.
Style wise, it seems fitting for that. I do not know if that's accurate or not, but that's a cool backstory if it is.
I mean, don't quote me on that, but there's some history to that song being linked. I think it's either Russia or Germany, one of those World War II countries. But like, and I think it actually came out of the war, but I could be completely mistaken. I don't know. But Tetris 99 is a battle royale Tetris game. It's you versus 98 other people in a game of Tetris. You have your own individual Tetris map, and when you make junk blocks, you send them to other players to try to mess them up, and last man standing wins. And it's, I even just talked about this last week. Like, I'm interested to see where the battle royale genre goes, and I did not expect this. This would not have been on my radar at all. But I think it's great to get. I mean, this is like the first non-shooter type battle royale game we've really seen, and it's interesting. But I love it.
The first thing in my mind goes to when thinking about this concept, because I think this is an exact replica, other than it being Tetris instead of the game I'm going to say, of a game in early 90s or late 80s on the Sega Genesis.
Okay.
There was a Sonic game called Mean Bean Machine.
What?
Which I don't know if you've ever heard of it or not.
I'm going to Google it real quick. Hang on.
Where literally, much like Tetris, you'd have a window where objects are falling down and you'd be matching. This one would be colors as opposed to shapes.
Yeah.
And,
okay, I see
that. But instead of it being single player, you're playing against the CPU. And whenever you get certain things matched, it sends, I can't remember what you would really call it, but obstacles over to the opponent's side.
Yeah, so it's like Tetris attack.
Right. That could interfere with, their matching and stuff. And it was cool because you could also do that 2-player. You could play with people. And me and my mom actually really like playing that game because we love Tetris. And this was like, hey, this is basically Tetris, but with colors, and we can fight each other. So let's do that.
Yeah.
And that seems like kind of the same mentality here. So it's going to actually be Tetris.
Yeah, and it's not one person; it's 98 other people.
Right.
As someone
much higher level.
Just to kind of hit, I mean, I don't want to spend forever on this game, but just to kind of hit the highlights of it. First of all, this game is free on the Nintendo Switch, so literally no excuse not to pick it up. I suck at Tetris. I've never really gotten into it. I'm addicted to this game, honestly. I'm getting better. Like, you just get better by playing it, and you can play it passively. Oh, yeah. You can play it super aggressively, where you're like really attacking other players, and there's a lot you can learn just from playing it and watching other people play it. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it's free. You have nothing to lose. Pick it up, play it. If you don't like it, uninstall it. You lost nothing, just time. Go for it.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, it's great.
And then that leads us to the last two games they listed on the Direct, save the best for last, of course. But
Yep.
the
This
second,
would be the JRPG anime title that you were.
yeah, this would be
excited to
the
talk
anime
about.
that actually not opposed to looking into.
I'm kind of with you on this one, and this is a game. I don't want to say I'll let you reveal the title, but this is from Platinum Games, the people who made Bayonetta, and also that really bad Legend of Korra game.
We don't talk about that one.
No one even remembers it.
Nope. This one's coming out in the late summer. So I think it's the end of August. Is what they said.
August 30th. Yeah, you nailed it.
It looks really neat visually. Even typically anime stories are just so freaking over the top. You just kind of don't pay attention to it after a certain point. But
You're not
this
wrong.
this one seemed intriguing, at least from the little bit they gave. Like, I don't mean in a, oh my gosh, you have to get this game because of the story. No, nothing like that. But it was enough to where, okay, I'm listening.
See, the gameplay is what actually sold me on this one. I don't remember a
Oh, yeah.
flipping thing about the story.
Without a
but
doubt.
Just watching them play. What's the name of the game, Matt?
Astral Chain.
Astral Chain. It's
I did.
it's
Full
kind of
disclosure,
like,
I genuinely didn't know if you said it or not because when you were talking, Discord cut out so much.
my bad.
that I was having to piece together. It's like, I don't know if he said the game or not, so I'm just guessing at this point.
No, that's fair. And that's just a tech workaround that we're dealing with here on the 2-Bit Gaming podcast. But yeah, it's Astral Chain. So basically the gameplay of it, from what I understand, because I haven't watched the trailer more than once, is you kind of have like a soul link almost to like a robot or a mech of some sort. And you fight together but separate. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, best we can tell from what it showed, but the visuals were stunning, which
Yes.
was by far the best part of it. And then while these elaborate cutscenes are happening, they're giving you a small amount of dialogue, which are the basic premise is, do you even know why you're actually fighting? Do you even know if you're actually on a good side kind of thing? Making you that typical questioning of, is what I am doing actually good, or have I just been told that it's good kind of thing?
Yeah.
So like I said, it's nothing just mind blowing, but it was okay. That seems interesting.
Yeah.
But visually, it's gosh, I wouldn't even know how to describe what they're doing. It's like an enemy arrives that looks robotic in nature, but like mech kind of, but humanoid shape.
Mhm.
And then from a wrist sized, a little bigger, but an object on the wrist, they summon another mech looking humanoid figure to fight with them so that they're not alone. And they just start fighting. And very anime, so very over the top, very crazy. But looks visually very impressive. So that one is actually on my radar to at least watch, bare minimum.
Yeah.
Like, I
it's
think
similar
Go
to
ahead.
how I feel about Fire Emblem Three Houses. This is a game that I'm going to keep on my radar. I'm going to see it as it develops and, maybe pull the trigger on it. The summer is definitely usually a dry season for gaming, the summer and the early fall. So this game coming out in the summer might kind of fill a void and could be a lot of fun.
Right. And then, of course, they waited for last to reveal their biggin, and I'm
Which
not
is
gonna.
weird because they kind of started with a big one too.
Right. So you think, where are they going from here? So I'll let Jay take this one. I'm not gonna steal his thunder.
I was excited about this when they first announced it, and that's Link's Awakening is being remade for the Nintendo Switch with up-to-date graphics. Kind of reminds me a little bit of A Link Between Worlds, the 3DS game that came out 5 years ago or so. And I'm excited about this. As a big Legend of Zelda fan, I always love to be able to play this. This was a game that came out originally for the Game Boy and then kind of got a re-release on the Game Boy Color. With just like a small minor update. They added one extra dungeon to it, the Dungeon of Color. And if you weren't playing it on a Game Boy Color, you actually couldn't do it because you had to solve color-based puzzles and know the difference between certain colors. So it's really interesting. This is a game that I first picked up when I was in college. I had never played this game. And then I was on tour my senior year. I had the opportunity to travel to different churches around the country and speak in them. And I was driving back to Boston from, I think, Virginia. And I stopped in Delaware briefly just to stretch my legs. And there was just this roadside thrift shop. And I walked in, this game was sitting on a $5 shelf, and I grabbed it and played the heck out of it. And it's a fantastic game, and I'm really excited to see this game come to the Switch. And I think it looks cute as heck and great, and it's going to be fun.
I'm interested to see parts of it. I was telling Jay before we started recording that oddly enough, this is the one Zelda game that I actually semi-played when I was young. I did not play the whole thing, but I played parts of it. And so it's interesting that now that is come. So this is like the only Zelda game that I have any, I guess, quote unquote nostalgia to. And it's very little at that, but at least there's some. But as I was telling Jay, the only nostalgia I have was just running into a chicken and hitting it as many times as I could, and then trying to survive as the onslaught.
You Zelda fans will appreciate this one. Matt joins me in the call. He's like, "Is that the Zelda game where if you attack a chicken, all hell breaks loose?"
Yep, that's what happens when you don't play any of the other ones that much. Jay was like, sure.
Literally every Zelda game.
You never know. They may omit that from some of them. I don't know.
It's even in the newest one. There's actually a lot of funny videos in Breath of the Wild of people carrying chickens like into boss fights and throwing a chicken at the boss. The boss hits the chicken, and then the boss gets swarmed by chickens. It's just a lot of fun to watch stuff like that. They broke the heck out of that game.
And they unfortunately did not give a date for that one, as far as all we really know is it's supposed to be coming out this year, presuming that it doesn't get delayed.
Yeah. I love Nintendo's policy on games is that they say, Miyamoto's kind of his philosophy is a delayed game will eventually be good, but a rushed game will be bad forever. And there's a ton of truth behind that statement.
Yep. I will never argue with that statement.
No, it's 100% true. So
delays are annoying, and they can be frustrating, but they're for a purpose.
and Nintendo's really transparent about it. They actually had a video, again, it's on their YouTube channel, just a couple weeks ago, where they came out, and one of the most anticipated games that Nintendo's been talking about is Metroid Prime 4. And this game's been in development now for over 2 years, or about 2 years-ish. And usually games have like a 3-ish year development cycle, so people were starting to wonder, how come we're not hearing more about this? And they came out and basically said, look, we scrapped the game. It wasn't going the way we wanted it to go. We couldn't capture the charm that was the other Metroid Prime games. We're starting over again, and we've brought in the original developers, and we're going to make this game right. It's just going to take us a little bit longer. And everyone was like, that's great. Like, I'm so happy for that, instead of just trying to push this game out there as, the next one, and you're going to buy it because you're a Metroid fan, screw you. They're like, no, we want to make this game the way you want to play it. And we've, we wasted 2 years of time, lost a lot of money in it, I'm imagining, but brought in the professionals now, and they're going to make this game right. And fans, we're fine with that,
Right. And now everybody can learn from Fallout 76.
Exactly.
Don't be that guy.
No.
Basically, just keep doing what you're doing and don't do this.
Yeah. And so if 2019 comes and goes and we still don't see Link's Awakening, it's because it wasn't done. It's not the game they want to release.
Right. And just I agree with that statement that he made wholeheartedly. I think that's a wise principle to stay behind. But
yeah.
That's going to wrap things up for today's 2-Bit Gaming Podcast episode. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by and listening. And again, if you didn't by this point, the Nintendo Direct will be in the link of at least the YouTube source that this podcast will be on, so you can go to the description and click it there if you want to go watch it after the fact. I mean, I don't know why you would now, but just to say that it's there.
There's some stunning visuals, that we didn't do justice, so you can go watch these games yourself.
Yeah, bare minimum, at least go see Astral Chain, because visually that was very entertaining.
Or Yoshi's Crafted World 2 is another one.
That's going to be it for this episode. Look for next week, where we're going to dive into Sekiro Shadows Die Twice.
I'm looking forward to talking about this one. This is going to be good. Next week's going to be good. Come ready. Buckle your pants and show up.
Buckle your pants. Get off the mat and dance. Dang it, now that song's going to be stuck in my head for the rest of the day. Thank you, Jay.
You're welcome.
What
can I say except you're welcome?
Oh, gosh.
Forgetting that song in your head.
Twice. Anyway, so question of the day to leave you with.
What song is stuck in your head?
What is one of your favorite Game Boy Color games
that's a
to
good
play,
question.
excluding the enormous obvious ones like your Pokemon games?
Oh.
Yeah, like I'm gonna make that rule, because if we don't, that's probably gonna be everybody's answer.
I'm literally opening up my collection of Game Boy games right now.
Right, and there's so many that go through my head, and I'm trying to think of really what I want to answer, and it's difficult. But I'm gonna give some obscure answers just to be that guy.
Sure.
I'm trying to remember. Oh gosh!
Now, Game Boy Color, or can we go back to original Game Boy? Because
let's say Game Boy Color to be specific. Okay, I looked it up just to make sure, and it was back this one. Wario Land 3.
Good game.
Of all the ones was
game.
Actually one that I really enjoyed playing and played the crap out of it. And even after I would beat it, I would just go back and do it again.
Yeah.
Like it was that enjoyable to me. Now there's plenty other Game Boy games that I love, and I'm not saying this was my favorite or anything, but just kind of giving an idea of one that you really enjoy that may not necessarily be the first one that people are used to hearing, like a Pokemon or something.
Yeah, I like that, because I initially was going to say either Pokemon Silver or Zelda Oracle of Ages.
Right, I'm trying to exclude
those two.
And then I'll give you a second one if you want one.
Because you always do.
This was really, well, it's because I can almost promise no one's even going to know what this is.
All right.
Hot Wheels Stunt Track Driver.
Ooh. I've heard the title. I don't think I'd ever recognize it, though.
Freaking loved it.
There you go.
And it was a side racing game, like a side scroller, but racing.
Oh, okay.
And with Hot Wheels. So, gosh, I played that crap out of both of those. Like,
nice.
There was no tomorrow. So that's two of my, and you can feel free to list as many as you want. It doesn't necessarily have to be one.
A lot of the Game Boy Color games I played were like the Pokemons and the Zeldas and stuff like that. But the one that I probably put the most amount of time in, honestly, besides maybe Pokemon Silver, because I played the dickens out of that game, was Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets for the Game Boy Color.
Wow.
Now, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets came out for like the GameCube and the Game Boy Color and the PC and the Game Boy Advanced and like everything. And they were all kind of a little different from each other. The Game Boy Color one was an open world of Hogwarts Castle RPG. And so it was like you'd run around and you'd get into random encounters and then you'd do turn-based combat. With a fun, it's the story of Harry Potter in the Chamber of Secrets, so it's, it's that story. But I beat the heck out of that game. And they had like New Game Plus and New Game Plus Plus and whatever. You could just keep rolling your file over to try to 100% it, and I did. And you got some really cool rewards and bonuses for doing all that work, and I love that game. I still go back and play it sometimes, man.
Nice. So there are some Game Boy Color games that we played that aren't necessarily, the top of the top of the list, cream of the crop, if you will, but we're still incredibly fun to play.
And if
Let
you're
us know.
if you're too sorry to interrupt you, if you're too
Good.
maybe young to have played the Game Boy Color too much, then just tell us about kind of a more obscure title of something, maybe like from the DS or the PSP or something like that that you played.
Right. I do forget we're slowly but surely narrowing down the amount of people. That
Yeah, I mean, like Matt, you and I
may
are
have
like
played a Game Boy Color.
we're almost 30. Like we
Right.
gotta hit a reality check.
I mean, there's still plenty of people that could have done that, but I second what Jay said. If for whatever reason that you were too young or just didn't play it or whatever, feel free to explore outside of the realms of Game Boy Color. Just do a similar thing on a different console that may have not been the A list of that console, but something that you really enjoyed playing and you put a lot of time into.
Yep.
And let us know what that is. And we look forward to next week as, again, we tackle Sekiro Shadows Die Twice from the makers of the Souls game. Looking forward to that. And without further ado, we will see you next week.